Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bar Shem, Yahweh Shai, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is News and Prophecy, Paya Allah from the GMS London camp, and this is from BBC News. This is dealing with basically information I'm going to go into in this video is dealing with the RFID chip, which according to the Bible is a mark of the beast, written of in Revelations the 13th chapter. Okay, now the beast is known as NATO and the EU, all right, and the mark of that beast is the RFID chip, okay, which the banking elites, the elites of this world, being the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, Gates, etc., etc., the elite banking families, what they want to do is chip all the people and have them in slavery underneath them, total slavery, total subjection, and total control of the people. Now they're making leaps and bounds towards making this happen, all right? But basically what they have is they do test runs, experiments in different countries before they roll out the mass New World Order agenda, which have had in place for going back to um, the 17th century, okay? So now this is BBC News. The title reads, Why Sweden is Close to Becoming a Cashless Economy. Now, a cashless society is what they're part of their agenda, so they can implement RFID chip. Okay. Now, this is Senator Johansson says it was visibly noticeable that Swedes prefer cards to cash these days. Okay. Now, one point I must pull out that led me to do this video. Okay. Basically, I read a short article in the Metro newspaper, which is a free newspaper given out, I believe, in the whole of the United Kingdom. And it was only a paragraph, a small excerpt, but you have full written articles. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. This is just a third of Britons want a cashless society after fears contactless cards are open to fraud and theft. Okay? There's contactless cards are open to fraud and theft. So these get lost or stolen and can be duplicated without the use of biometrics. No one, when you use a card, there's nothing that's going to scan these people or line up their biometrics with the use of those cards. So the RFID chip, which uses biometric technology, will basically be the way around that. Okay, but they just ain't brought it out. They're just presenting the problem, and then reaction solution, which is part of their agenda. Finance giants want people to switch to tap and go cards as it's cheaper for them. New research suggests that only a fraction of public want to get up on cash. Just 1 in 5 over 50s are in favor, but the young aren't convinced either. All right. Efforts by banks and stores to push customers to stop using real money are failing. And this ain't even real money. We're using something known as fiat currency. Okay, fiat currency is basically fraudulent money. All right. We can type that in very quickly and show you. Okay. Fiat currency is legal tender whose value is backed by the government that issued it. The US dollar is fiat currency, as are the euro and many other major currencies, pounds. This approach differs from money whose value is underpinned by some physical goods such as gold and silver, called commodity money, which got put out of use way back when they got rid of the gold standard. Money being backed, the commodity money being backed by gold and silver. Okay, and they tried, and you see with this article they're saying, it's funny, it's called thefool.com. It says fiat currency, what it is and why it's better than gold standard, but the website says it all, man. That's the elites saying the joke's on you, okay? Because gold and silver and cattle are real money, all right? Now, going back to this article. Efforts by banks and stores to push customers to stop using real money are failing, with just 1 in 3 happy to live in a cashless society. Finance giants want people to switch to tap and go cards or use smartphones to make payments, as this is much cheaper for them than handling real money. It also it also it's also good news for retailers amid evidence people are more likely to spend when using virtual money than real notes and coins. So they're taking away that feel of reality. So they just spend, spend, spend. And me personally, I don't like to use cards. This is an example, because when I use my card, it's harder to track my money, as opposed to when you have your physical money in front of you, it's easier to see. Of course, you can check out your website, your online banking, and all those kind of things, but it's still it's still much more easier when you know what's in front of you, as opposed to feeling like you just have it. There's something to that. There must be some witchcraft to that shit. All right. However, new research by retail analyst Mintel suggests that only a tiny fraction of the public are willing to give up on cash. This week, the Bank of England is introducing a long life plastic £10 note, which follows the new £5 note, and it seems people see real value in currency carrying the Queen's head. Okay, and even the way this money is coming out, it's still coming out with plastic money, which really don't feel like no money. Okay, and I know that's to put people off of this money. Okay, Mintle found that just 28% of women are in favor of moving to a um, cashless society, with a figure of 38% of men. This gives an overall average of 33%. Older people are particularly opposed to losing the right to spend cash. Just 1 in 5 of those aged 55 and over are in favor, compared to 43% of those 25 to 34. Okay, so really, the the biggest range is in the 25s to 34-year-olds. Okay, which is the new generation that's really been pushed. They've been pushing this on extremely heavy. Okay, the reluctant among some groups to give up the cash may be related to evidence that contactless cards are open to fraud and theft. Um, yeah, security loophole means that most cards can continue to be used for small purchases by criminals for weeks after they have been reported stolen. Regionally, just 30% of those in South East Anglia and Yorkshire want to move on from cash. Okay, the figure is higher, 36% and 36. The figure is a higher 36% and in Scotland and 37% in London, where people who want to use public transport are simply not allowed to use cash. Mm. Okay, so they stop the people from using cash for transport, as they did. Mention London. The Oyster card is your only means of using that basically for you traveling on public transport. You can still get a paper ticket, but the price is basically shot up so high that it's pointless basically buying one of those, and you might as well just spend your £5 and get your Oyster card and make use of that. But that's because it has an NFC technology, which is part of RFID technology. Okay, which leads to the mark of the beast. And just as most retailers now refuse to accept checks, it seems that many will move away from notes and coins over the next 10 years. So they're looking to move away from notes and coins from the next 10 years. Okay? Oh, now here's a gem, man. This pattern is already being seen in countries like Sweden, where paying through a smartphone app has taken off. Senior financial services analyst at Mintle, Patrick Ross, said, while alternative payment methods continue to grow, the demise of cash has been greatly exaggerated. Many people still prefer using cash, while others simply like to have some cash with them just in case. Although card payments are almost universally accepted in urban areas, cash continues to play an important role in everyday life. Now we're going to go back to the Sweden article. It says already being being seen in countries like Sweden where paying through a smartphone app has taken off. And we need to understand why this has taken off. Okay? Sweden is the most cashless society on the planet with barely 1% of the value of all payments made using coins or notes last year. Barely 1%. That's a staggering amount. So how did the Nordic nation get so far ahead of us, of the rest of us? And that's the point. All right. Warm cinnamon buns are stacked next to the mounds of freshly baked sourdough bread at a neighborhood coffee shop in Kungsholmen, just when just west of Stockholm city centre. Almost the other typically Scandinavian touches, minimalist white tiles and exposed filament light bulbs, is another increasingly common sight in the Swedish capital. A "we don't accept cash" sign. Okay, so that's a common sign in the shops. Okay, "we don't accept cash" sign. We wanted to minimize the risk of robberies, and it's quicker with the customers when they pay by card, says Victoria Nilsson, who manages two of the bakery chain's 16 stores across the city. It's been mainly positive reactions. We love the use of our cards here in Stockholm. Okay? Across the country, cash is now used in less than 20% of transactions in stores. Okay, half the number 5 years ago, according to Riksbank, Sweden Central Bank. Coins and banknotes have been banned on buses for several years after unions raised concerns over driver safety. Okay, the problem being driver safety. How do they react with a solution? Being, let's get rid of coins and banknotes that put their lives in jeopardy. Okay, and that's something I don't believe was pushed out here in London. They just pulled the plug on it, and that was that. Okay. Even tourist attractions have started to gamble on taking plastic-only payments, including Stockholm's Pop House Hotel and the ABBA Museum. Okay, the iconic band's Bjorn Ulvaeus is in fact one of the nation's most vocal supporters of Sweden's cash-free trend. After his son lost cash in an apartment burglary, smaller retailers are jumping on the bandwagon too, making use of homegrown technology such as iZettle, the Swedish startup behind Europe's first mobile credit card reader. Okay, they got a good, so look, they're saying, we're backing that, the hotel and the museum, we're backing that because my son, got robbed for cash in his apartment. Okay, and that's well, a lot of people keep cash under, you've got older generations keep cash under the, mattress and all that. But I mean, you gotta have some money for some niggas to run up in there and try to rap, steal all of your possessions, man. Okay, so it says such portable technologies have enabled market traders and even homeless people promoting charity magazines to take card payments easily. So now you got people in the market, £5 pound of bananas, You got the geezers in the marketplace, okay, down your local market. They've got card readers on them, what's that called, man? Contactless payment, man. And then also you even got homeless people selling them big issue magazines. They're rolling around with card readers, man. I took my kids to the fun fair and there was a guy selling balloons and he had a card machine with him, remarks Senabor Jonasson, one of the Swedish customers back at the bakery. Okay, currently living in Portsmouth in southern England, she's visiting Sweden for the first time in a year, and says it is visibly noticeable that people are paying more with cards. It's not like the UK where there's often a minimum spend when you go to a kiosk or you're in the middle of nowhere. I think it's great. Okay, and that's the thing with most of these shops. You go down to your local off license, the offie or your news agents. Basically, what do you have there? They say minimum spend £5, okay, or they might just allow you to buy something but they charge you £1 or they charge you £1.29, 1.59, 1.79, whatever, okay, to withdraw cash, okay. Um, I mean to make a payment. I think it's great. Swish, a smartphone payment system, is another popular Swedish innovation used by more than half the country's 10 million strong population. Okay, so this is an example. Signs like this are becoming increasingly common in Sweden. This bar accepts you for whoever you are. Oh shit! So it's even a push of more of the new world agenda, but it doesn't accept cash. Okay, cards only. All right. So that's the trend out there. Backed by major banks, it allows customers to send money securely to anyone else with the app just by using a mobile number. Okay, so you have banks backing this technology with the transference of money between friends, etc. All right, and then also with this sign here, that this just shows you that all the government has to do is just say, look, we don't, like they did on the buses, we don't accept cash no more. You have to make a card payment, okay, contactless on your debit, credit or debit card, or on your Oyster card, and that's what they're doing. Even now, they're getting it to where they're pushing people to go with a contactless, where it works out cheaper, where you use that as a form of payment. All right. So now it says, it reads, a staple at flea markets and school fetes. It's also a popular way to transfer money instantly between friends. Swedes can no longer get away with delaying their share of a restaurant bill using the excuse that they are short on cash. Okay, so they can even go halves on it. Split it up via use of the app. Okay. In general, consumers are very interested in new technologies, so we're quite early to adopt them, explains Nicholas Arvidsson, a professor at Stockholm's Royal Institute of Technology. This is partly down to infrastructure. Sweden is among the most connected countries in the EU, a relatively small population that is an ideal testbed for innovations and the country's historically low corruption levels, he argues. So that's the reason. Let's go back to the last article. What did it say? It said this pattern is already being seen in countries like Sweden, where paying through a smartphone app has taken off. And what did it say here? It said this partly is down to the infrastructure. Sweden is among the most connected countries. Okay, most connected countries in the EU. A relatively small population that is ideal test bed for innovations. Okay, that's what this place is, an ideal test bed for innovation. So they put them ahead of the curve, basically as a test. What did I say? These elites, man, they have their test runs where they basically come together and do their thing, man. You know. So this is Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Okay, and that's what they have. They have these focus groups, these different factions of the Illuminati, Club of Rome. Um, it's one that begins with a B, man. Um, Bilderberg Group. They got all these different groups, okay, that come together, and what they have, their focus groups, and they basically bounce ideas back and forth to forward their through use of their initiative to, forward their New World Order agenda, okay, because they're trying to get it perfect, okay, and they covet fields and take them by violence and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, and that's what they did to us, man. They did it to the world over, because it tells you in Psalms that they name the places according to their name, okay. But basically, they converted the land of Israel, where now it's the state of Israel, and they got Israelis in there, not Israelites, okay? And they convert fields and take them by violence. Out the bless, going back to the blessing of Esau in Genesis, the 27th chapter, basically, the use of violence being the sword, okay, literal sword, the gun, missiles, any form of weaponry. That's how they get it, man. A key example is Christopher Columbus when he came over to Santo Domingo. Basically, he said he couldn't take his he couldn't take his hand off his sword. Okay, and it says and take them away. So they oppress a man. It's luckier. So they oppress a man in his house. Okay, and the word oppress means to press down on a man's spirit. That's why this whole world has been turned upside down. All the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Bible, they're basically been they've law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible. They've been frowned upon, and he's basically done every all the opposite the Bible says. These elites have basically pushed out as law. So that's oppressing our natural spirit, our innate nature, because it tells you have a zeal, but not according to knowledge. So we're gonna do things in accordance with the Bible, and that's gonna press down on our spirit. Okay, and his house, even a man in his heritage, our heritage being the fact that we're Israelites. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. And the word evil means a bad time. Okay, in that day shall one take up a parable against you and lament with a doleful lamentation and say, we be utterly spoiled. Ye have changed a portion of my people. How have ye removed it from me? Turning away, ye divided our fields. So that bad time that they can't remove their necks from is talking about this impending doom, man, that Esau ain't going to get away with. Okay, right now, he's building up the infrastructure for the RFID chip. Okay, but you don't know that he's basically walking into a trap devised by the Heavenly Father. Swedes tend to trust banks. Okay, we trust institutions. People are not afraid of the sort of big brother issues or fraud connected to electronic payment, and they obviously trying to create that air of trust over here in other countries, starting with America, the UK. These different countries are trying to build up trust in the banks, and really the best way to build up trust in the banks is through fear, man. All right. Somewhat paradoxically, Sweden's decision to update its coins and banknotes, a move announced by Riksbank in 2010 and fully implemented this year, actually boosted cashless transactions, explains Professor Arvidsson. All right. So now we're going back 7 years. Okay. They announced in 2010, and they basically fully implemented the change of all cash, okay, by 2017. So that's a 7 year period, which by now they've got what they want, where such a low percent of people are using their money, okay, but they're trying to market as if the new £10 note suggests that a cashless society is a long way off. That's part of their plan, man. That's part of their plan. And look, it even says it in this article. It says it looks as if the days of cash are numbered. Last year, card payments accounted for over half of all retail transactions in the UK. Contactless payments are booming as people opt to wave a piece of plastic rather than the fumbling around for change. And you might even we don't know, the fact that they're using plastic money might even, I don't know, man, play into the minds of the people to trust in a plastic card, okay? Because the money don't feel like, it feels like, if it don't, it feels like worse than monopoly money, man. Okay, so there's definitely some psychology behind it. Okay, as we just read, the actual implementation of new money basically led to people leaning more towards contactless payment. The slow slide towards a cashless society looks inevitable. But if cash is on the way out, why is the Bank of England bothering to replace the paper £10 notes with new polymer ones this week? They might just be delaying the inevitable, but there are reasons too. Okay, I ain't signed up to that account, but the point is the point. Okay, that as we read in this article, they're doing it as to play on the minds of the people. Okay, we would have thought that a new kind of cash would have created an interest, but the reaction seems to have been the opposite, he says. Some retailers thought it's easier not to accept these new forms of cash because there's learning to be done, maybe investment in cash registration machines and so on. So it's basically a bother to deal with, okay? There has also, that's why these retailers just say, you know what, let's just only take card payments because this is to change the legal tender. It's too much of a headache. There has also been a ripple effect, he says, with more shops signing up for cashless idea, see, as it becomes increasingly socially acceptable. Okay. Okay. So it reads on. Riksbank figures reveal that the average value of Swedish krona in circulation fell from around 1.106 billion, 10 billion in 2009 and 65 billion in 2016, and it just dawned on me. That just means that they printed less money. That's what it means. So inevitably, what they've done is they've basically taken away the old tender of money to make it illegal, where there was so much. There was this makes sense now, such a high abundance of money for people to use, and now what they've done is they've replaced it by printing new money, but the new money they printed is less than the money they printed before. So it's even pushing people to using the, your cards and that, man. Barely 1% of the value. So they're basically manipulating the numbers with that, man, to make it look like, to make people feed into the idea of using cards. Barely 1% of the value of all payments were made using Barely 1% of the value of payments were made using coins or notes last year, compared to around 7% across the EU in the US. Professor Arvidsson predicts that the use of cash will most likely be reduced to a very marginal payment form by 2020. Okay? So that's an agenda they're pushing. Retailers seem to agree. A survey not yet published of almost 800 small retailers carried out by his research team found that 2/3 of respondents said they anticipated phasing out cash payments completely by 2030. And ESO ain't got that amount of time, man. This is ready to go down now, man. Okay? But the trend is not to everyone's liking, as Jorn Eriksson, formerly National Police Commissioner and President of Interpol, explains for the suburb of Alvik. Here his local coffee shop still accepts old-fashioned money, but several of the banks no longer offer cash deposits or over-the-counter withdrawals. So the banks just up and said, look, man, we ain't accepting cash deposits, or we ain't even giving you money. And who's the one printing the money, man? They are. So they're basically phasing out cash. But anyway, all right. So remember, this is Sweden. They already explained that this is the model for the rest of the world. Basically, they done it, started in 2010, and this is where they're at right now. Okay, and this is what they're gonna use on the masses of people, and they can speed up this process. Okay, they can speed up this process. They can definitely speed up this process. All they need is the right terrorist attack. Anything to happen, they could make things happen where they basically speed up the process. Right? I like cars. I'm just angry because about 1 million people can't cope with the cars. The elderly, former convicts, tourists, immigrants. The banks don't care because these groups are not profitable, he argues. So that even shows you they're showing a liking, a bias towards those customers that are profitable onto the banks. Okay, going back to the Georgia Guidestones over there in America, in Georgia, they're taking the 10 commandments. The elites taking the 10 commandments, and the first commandment is to basically only have a 500 million people on the face of this. Sorry, not 500 million, 500,000. I believe it's 500 million people on the face of the earth, because presently there's close to 8 billion people on the earth. All right. So basically, they want to scale down that number drastically. All right. So they're looking to basically, this being a capitalist, world, the banking elites, they're looking for those people that are profitable for their capitalist world. Okay, so those convicts, even though they'll keep tourists around, obviously, or maybe not, but immigrants and all these kind of things like convicts, they're less likened. A good movie to show you that as well is Children of Men. They had immigrants. You had a German woman, German white elderly woman, okay, and she was there trapped in a cage, and the police they weren't crying no tears for her, and she was saying, "I'm in here with a Schwarzer," meaning black, okay. The 71-year-old is the face of the national movement called Con Con Conton Contantopro Cash Rebellion, okay, which is also concerned about identity theft, rising consumer debt, and cyber attacks. Okay, so these are identity theft, biometric technology, RFID chip would be the answer. Rising consumer debt. It may offer you zero your debt, and you take the RFID chip, and the cyber attacks are basically used by themselves, man. Okay. The system could easily be disturbed or manipulated. Why invade us when it is so easy just to cut off the payment system and we're completely helpless? And that's really where it is, okay? You know? And the reason why they're doing that is really all roads lead to the chip. So they say, look, there's a short movie I saw on World Star Hip Hop a couple years ago. It's called Duality, or Plurality, actually. That's what it's called, Plurality. It's about 17 minutes long, and it's in a future like new world, like Big Brother society, where basically you have people sending themselves back in time to basically change the the earth as it is, okay, and basically when this is the movie here, 40 minutes long. They go back. What basically happens is
It's been 2 years since the Bentham Grid went online in New York City. It was a technological marvel. The grid takes all those things unique to you, your social security number, your passport, your debit and credit accounts, and links them to one thing: your DNA. Today, you can't do anything in New York City without the grid knowing who you are and where you are. Many hailed the launch of the Bentham Grid as the funeral for American crime. But it was the day that something else began.
Plurality detected.
Send in Foucault.
Miss Winston, you're gonna have to come with me.
Here we go.
We've got the eye in the sky, Foucault. We can see both of you.
New groundbreaking holostream technology. Enjoy razor-sharp 3D holograms.
Scanning grid. Target locked.
I got her.
Miss Winston,
You can't beat the grid.
You've replaced freedom with the illusion of safety. But we're not safe, Foucault. Neither are you.
Jacob Foucault. Target locked. Sending all available agents.
okay. So now that's basically that basically shows you what they're heading for, and basically with the point being the biometric technology is so well down packed that basically if someone was to duplicate or use your RFID biometrics, basically it will turn up as a plural, a doppelganger, And I'm guessing if you just created one randomly, if it ain't on the system, you know, they'll be onto you. But they want total control. Okay. All right. So it reads, his arguments haven't escaped the notice of politicians in Sweden, where debates about security are increasingly making their way onto the agenda in wake of the government agency data leak that almost brought down the ruling coalition in July. Meanwhile, the backdrop of the increasingly divided electorate suggests that rural and elderly voters could prove crucial in the Nordic country's next general election scheduled for September 2018. Back at Stockholm, so basically, if I'm reading it correct, the people that are hard to get to are the people in the sticks and the people of age, okay? Which they're looking to cut them off from society, man. Back at Stockholm's Royal Institute of Technology, Professor Arvidsson points out that while most Swedes have embraced the nation's cash-free innovations, 2/3 don't want to get rid of their notes and coins completely. There's a very strong emotional connection to cash among Swedes, even though they do not use it, he says. Sweden may lead in the global trend towards a cashless future, but its tech-savvy population also appears to be guided by another, more traditional Swedish trait: caution. Okay, so that's the article, but that's all the information. I just wanted to go into some quick precepts. First, start by showing what money is, man. All right, this is Genesis 13, and I'll start with 1. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. All right, so that's what determines wealth. Can compound that point with Job, the first chapter, and read on down. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. The name Job goes back to the Hebrew Ayawab, I believe, which means affliction. And the man was perfect and upright, and one that feared the Most High, Yahweh, and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance was also, okay, this is what made him rich, because this is the substance that made him rich. And his substance, and first and foremost, just to point it out, his real substance that made him rich was the fact that he was perfect and upright, and one that feared the Most High and eschewed evil. But in his carnal substance, which he was blessed with, his substance was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses, and very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all men of the East. Okay, so basically he had slaves within the house as well as cattle. Okay, and through cattle and all those cattle and sheep, etc., there's many products you can create, you can sell on, you can use them for many things. All right, so now today we're in the land of Egypt, man. And this is where we're at. Headed by starting with America, man. Okay? Now this is prophecy of us at this point in time, because it tells you that the Lord, Yahushua, the spirit of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. So that's what we're meant to delve into, man. We're meant to go into these prophecies. Every time we deal with you, this is why this video I'm doing is on news and prophecies. The Lord, is giving us foreknowledge of the things to come, okay? And we know that his word doesn't go out void. Okay, Isaiah 55:11. Also, it tells you, in Isaiah, I'm loosely paraphrasing about, brought out old things before, but now I bring forth new things. We show you about the past prophecies, but then we're going to show you the new things. And really, the past things are to build up you in a faith, okay? To about turning to the search of thy fathers, okay? Job 8:8. Now this reads Revelation 11:8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. Okay, the dead bodies are not literal, although you do have some dead bodies that have been on the floor literal. It's talking about Proverbs 21:16. Okay, he that walketh out the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. Where dead our people are dead spiritually, okay? And they're dead in the great city, which is Babylon, okay? The great, which is America, which is even the UK, these different countries, okay? Okay, because we're citizens, and this is a great city, all right? Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, because they push the laws of sodomy and they channel the spirit of Egypt. That's why you have Cleopatra's Needle down by the River Thames. That's why you have the Washington Monument over in Washington, D.C., which is obelisks going back to Egypt. Okay, they actually took them from Egypt and placed them in the land of America, Babylon the Great, and also down here in London in the River Thames, all right? Which also where also our Lord was crucified. I was the Lord crucified by them putting him up as a so-called white man, okay? So, this is the last scripture I'm going to finish on. Okay, it's Isaiah 36:6. Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed. All right, and this is going to really, if you're going, the mark of the beast starts with the image of the beast. Accepting the image of the beast is to follow this system, okay? Because even proof of that is the word law, okay, is also known as a statue, and a statue, the word statue goes back to the image. Now, even when you deal with idolatry, in order for you to follow idols, which they showed you in, I believe it's the TV series American Gods, they showed you they built idols, but in the idols where they gained their strength in wickedness was basically by them basically worshipping and venerating those idols by the sacrifice of blood. Okay, they had to do dirt basically, and that's how you worship the image of the beast, basically by being at one with this democracy, all right? Following the system, believing like everyone's equal, all these different things that they push out to the greater public. That's how you trust in the staff of this broken reed, okay? On Egypt, wherein if a man lean, okay, the reed is talking, the broken reed is talking about the cannula, okay? The cannula, the word cannula goes back to the word reed, which is part of which is part of the syringe that's used to inject the RFID chip. Wherein if a man lean, it will go into his hand, okay? And that's what they want to do. They want to when you go to Revelations 13, what does it tell you? That basically causes all both small and great, rich and poor to receive a mark in their right hand or their foreheads, okay? And pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. So basically, by you accepting that mark, Pharaoh is your king, and you the king of Egypt to all that trust in him. And I explained what Egypt is. All right. So with that, I could go for a couple more scriptures, but I've established the point. So with that, say all praises to Yahweh Bar Shem El Shai, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom.